Good evening. My name is Charlie Adkins, and I am this year's chair of the VIP Distinguished Speaker Series. The VIP Distinguished Speaker Series is one of the many programs put on by the Undergraduate Business Council for the Red McCombs School of Business. Today, we are joined by Dean Eric Hurst of the McCombs Graduate Programs and Mr. Ken Hicks, President and CEO of Foot Locker Incorporated. We will begin tonight with an interview between Dean Hurst and Mr. Hicks. Then we will open the floor to Q&A from the audience. As a reminder, today's event will end promptly at 6:30. We would greatly appreciate if you could refrain from leaving early and using electronic devices. Ken C. Hicks was elected President and Chief Executive Officer of Foot Locker Incorporated, effective August 17, 2009. He was subsequently appointed as Chairman of the Board, effective January 31, 2010. Prior to joining Foot Locker, Mr. Hicks served as President and Chief Merchandising Officer of JCPenney Company since 2005 and was a member of its Board of Directors since 2008. From 2002 to 2005, he was President and Chief Operating Officer of Penny Stores and Merchandise Operations. Before joining JCPenney, Mr. Hicks was President of Payless Shoe Source from 1999 to 2002. Where he held responsibility for all elements of merchandising, marketing, product distribution, and direct product development and sourcing for 4,900 stores in 7 countries. Prior to joining Payless Shoe Source, Mr. Hicks was Executive Vice President and General Merchandise Manager of all merchandising and programming for the Home Shopping Network. From 1987 to 1998, he held senior management and merchandising positions for May department stores, including Senior Vice President of Strategic Planning and General Merchandise Manager for several divisions. From 1982 to 1987, he was a Senior Engagement Manager for McKinsey & Company Consultants. Mr. Hicks graduated from the United States Military Academy at West Point and served in the U.S. Army, attaining the rank of captain. After leaving the Army, he earned an MBA with the highest distinction from Harvard University. Foot Locker Incorporated operates approximately 3,300 athletic retail stores in 23 countries in North America, Europe, Australia, and New Zealand, as well as the direct-to-customer channel, footlocker.com, Eastbay, and CCS. Please help me welcome Dean Hurst and Mr. Hicks.
Well, in case any of you are wondering who's who on stage, Ken Hicks is the one with the Foot Locker products on his feet. All right. I want to go right back to the beginning. Maybe you could tell us something about your very first job or first set of jobs and how those set you up for what you're doing today.
Yeah, I for whatever reason, I enjoy working, and I started out when I was 10 years old selling newspapers in front of a Piggly Wiggly in Houston. And during the summers, I would carry out groceries for tips. You actually used to have people do that for you. And then when I was growing up, when you were 14, you could get a car, you could get your license. And so I wanted to get a car. So I had a bunch of different jobs. I worked in a nursery filling bags of dirt, worked in a car wash, a Kentucky Fried Chicken place, and ultimately worked as a mechanic, and that's what I did all through high school, worked as a mechanic and a janitor. But I had a car when I was 14, which was, cool. So I've had a lot of different jobs, a lot of different experiences, and, one of the things it taught me how to do was hard work.
It pays off.
Yeah, well, one of the most important things as you go into business is remembering what the people who do the job, what it's like, and recognize, like in our company, I actually fortunate enough to have some of the representatives from our company here. But the people who you see and in our company, our sales associate, that's in many cases, it's not the highest paid job in the company, but they're the people who represent the company. So you have to make sure and understand what their challenges are. And so it's always good to periodically go back to your roots and remember what it was like, you know, doing the grunt work. And the good thing is that we've got some tremendous associates in the stores, and they enjoy doing what they're doing. I was talking to one today, and you know, I asked the associate, "What do you like working at Foot Locker?" He says, "Shoes, music, air conditioning. You know, what's not to like?"
I could think of some other jobs. Now, let's fast forward a little bit. And you spent a good bit of time at JCPenney.
Mm-hmm.
And JCPenney has been in the news of late in
They
recent
have.
years with big ups and big downs. And as you reflect on the JCPenney experience and think about your role at Foot Locker, what are some of the lessons learned? What are the maybe mistakes that you saw made, maybe that you made yourself at JCPenney?
Yeah.
And then the big wins that took place?
Well, one of the things that's interesting, when I was at JCPenney's, when I got there, the stock was at 7 then. And we were very close to bankruptcy. And a few years with Alan Questrom and Vanessa Castagna and other people, we had, Wall Street Journal called us the retail turnaround of the decade. Then, you know, we had challenges. But we tried a number of different things with off-mall stores and stuff. And I think that one of the things that you learn from it is that, you know, sometimes you think, you know, you've recovered and you're doing fine. It doesn't take long to get back down to the bottom. So you have to work hard to stay up and continue to perform well. It is, you know, so you can't ever relax. And that's one of the things about retail is every day you get graded and tested by the customers, and you have to continue to impress them, or you know, you can pretty quickly be on the bottom. The other thing I think that Penny's experience shows, and it's one of the things that we do, we have in our DNA now, is you have to test things. You can't just say, you know, I think this is a good idea and I'm going to go do it, and not understand the consequences or not understand some of the implications or the difficulty in doing it. And some of the things that Penny's did were not tested, and they were just the gut belief of the CEO. And if it was, you know, being a good CEO was based upon just gut belief, I'd have a competitive advantage over most people. But you know, it's something that you have to study and learn and listen to other people. And so I think that's the third lesson is there were people who were saying there are issues and problems and challenges and not listening to them. And again, as you move up in the organization, one of the things that you have to remember and do is listen and ask the associates, the customers, your team, and other people. Because when you quit listening, you've got a problem.
How do you make sure you're surrounded by people who tell you different things instead of the things they think you want to hear, so that you're listening, but you're only getting the message that
you have people who do that, and in fact you encourage it and let the people know and let people know around you. So you have somebody who disagrees, you don't tell them, "Oh, that's stupid, go away." You have a discussion with them and you listen, and sometimes you make changes, sometimes you don't. There was a particular handheld scanner that we use in stores, and I was visiting stores in Italy, and the store manager had them, and everybody knows that I believe in them and think they're good, but the economics were in question. And so I asked this store manager what he thought of them, and everybody knew that I was a supporter that was there, that was with me, but he didn't know that. And I said, I don't think they work. I think they're bad. And for 5 minutes, I had a store manager in his second language, because Italian was his first language, explain to me why I was wrong. And so here you've got a store manager explaining to the chairman of the board that he's wrong. and here's why. And, you know, his district manager and regional were all, you know, is this okay? And, you know, I actually, he didn't know that I agreed with him, but he gave a very good argument. But the people heard that. And one of the things that you learn, if you think Twitter's fast, work for a company. Word goes through a company faster than Twitter goes through. And people, they hear that, they know, and say, okay, I can disagree. And so you have to encourage an environment where people can and do disagree.
Well, that leads me into another question. You might not realize why, but you talked about Twitter. And today I was visiting the Foot Locker website. And when you were with McKinsey, did you think you would be running a company that had Kickstagram on the front page of the web? Well, probably didn't think about websites back then.
No, we didn't know.
But you've got social media now. How does social media, how is all that playing into what you're doing at Foot Locker?
It's a critical part of what we do now because we, you know, our customer is very active and involved in social media. You know, there are people in here right now that are tweeting and, you know, sending messages out to people about the great learnings that they're getting from this conversation. But it's so we've changed what we do. For example, our commercials. Most of our commercials we don't show on TV anymore. We go to YouTube. We, you know, tweet about different things, and we use social media. We developed a site called Sneakerpedia, and it's a non-commercial site for us. For other people, it's a commercial site because they sell shoes on it, but the marketing department won't let us sell shoes on it, where sneakerheads can go and show their assortment and talk about, you know, the launch, the release we've got coming out tomorrow morning and things like that. And so we sponsor that. We do a lot, and it's made things move very, very quickly, and which is a good thing, but it also means that we've got to be up with what's going on.
Right. Well, I have an SAT question for you. Right? You probably haven't thought about the SAT. Some of you have thought about the SAT, and I apologize if this doesn't work for you, but this isn't what I do for a living. So, Amazon is to Barnes & Noble as Zappos is to blank. How do you make sure that Foot Locker isn't?
Yeah. I would say Zappos is to DSW, or probably more famous footwear. What we do is we make sure we have exclusive product that you can't get on Zappos, that we have great people and information in our stores, and great entertainment value and reasons to go to our websites. So 60% of our product is exclusive to us. Mm-hmm. We also have the ability to sell shoes that, you know, you go on Zappos, and they have some shoes at the higher price points, but not a lot. We've got a lot of shoes that, you know, we've had release a couple of weeks ago, $260 Foamposite. You know, you can't get that shoe on Zappos. So having that exclusive product, having the connection with the store. So I want to return a shoe, I can take it back to the store. I don't have to put it in a box and go to somewhere and that I don't normally go, because the people are going to the mall and going to our store anyway. And so offering services. I can buy online and reserve in the store and go pick it up next time I'm in the mall. I can buy it online and not have a credit card and go pay cash at the store. I can do a lot of different things that I can't do on Zappos. So that's how we're, you know, making sure that they stay where they are, we stay where we are, and we're all pretty happy.
What are the challenges? You've got one pretty major arrangement with Nike. Mm-hmm. What are the challenges of dealing with a partner, a supplier that's really a partner, and how does the sort of power trade off in a relationship like that? How do you find a a happy place for everybody.
Well, we had one of the more famous fallings out with business partners a few years ago, and we both, upset each other and walked away. That didn't work so well. Didn't work well for them, didn't work well for us. So, when I came, one of the things that we did was, I've been married 39 years. I said, it's like a marriage. You're not always happy with your spouse, but you're with them, and the separation is very, very painful and very expensive. So you might as well make it work. And we have great partnerships, and so we have, in fact, on Wednesday, we had a top-to-top with them, where we sit down with their senior team and our senior team, and we talk about the issues and what's happening. And we actually took our board out to Portland, and we had I turned my board over to Nike for, 3 hours and said, okay, give them a tour of your campus. And it's not quite as nice as this, but it's pretty impressive. And then talk to them, tell them your strategy, and tell them what we do well, tell them what we don't do well. And you do things with partners. And we've got a good partnership. And is it perfect? No, sometimes they squeeze the toothpaste from the top of the tube, and you're supposed to go squeeze it from the bottom. So we have our disagreements, but we do work well together. And the difference between this and marriage is we are allowed to have, affairs.
Other partners.
Other partners, yes. Yeah. It's somewhat open.
It's expected.
It's expected. Both of us.
Yes.
So and that, that's where it gets a little tricky, but it's working so far.
We're here to talk business, okay? So just take what you're hearing on the side. So you were talking about the board. Now you're on the board of Avery Dennison.
Yeah.
And you spend a lot of time in retail. And Avery Dennison, company known as, for packaging solutions and labeling solutions. What do you learn being on the board of directors of another company, and in particular another company that's not in retail?
Yeah, Avery, when you're on the board of another company, a big part of a board's workings is the governance of the company and the monitoring. So you learn how other companies work. But Avery actually has two businesses. One is labeling. This label here is a Avery Dennison product. But also they do all the labels in, or not all the labels, but many of the labels in apparel. They also have a division that does radio frequency identification tag, RFID tags in apparel and things that track things. And one of the reasons they want to be on their board and I want to be on their board is that's becoming more and more important in retail as we track inventory and know where things are going. And I'm learning the technology there and providing input on them and on the issues that retailers see with the technology. At the same time, I get to see where the technology is and how it's developing.
Excellent. Excellent. So seeing those different perspectives is that diversity of perspective.
And it's one of the things when you look at a board is you want different perspectives. You want people, it gets out like we talked about having business people disagree. You want people who have different points of view and can get you to think about things different ways.
Sure, sure. Now when we were talking before over at McCombs, you got quite excited talking about the expansion of Lady Foot Locker, of women's products. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if you could talk about what sort of how that light bulb went on for that opportunity and the ways that you're seeing that growth.
Yeah, well, this is the first job I've had in retail where we've talked about the customer as he. Every other job, it was always her. Penny's, Payless, May Company. And so I have an understanding of the importance of the women's customer. And in the athletic business, the women's customer is very misunderstood. We did quite a bit of research and we saw that they aren't happy with any of the choices. Lululemon's too expensive. We just sell sneakers. Athleta is too sportswear driven. Lucy's too sportswear driven. The fit's not right. They're not offering the right product. And so we see this as an opportunity to get it right. And if, as you look at who's working out, who's wearing the product, women are wearing it as much as men. And so in our space, the price points that we operate at, shoes and apparel, athletic shoes and apparel, a $40 billion business. $40 billion business that's being done poorly. And so we think there's an opportunity. So we have a couple of different tests going on, looking at it. We have a new division called 602. We have some things we're doing with Lady Foot Locker to try to see if we can get it right. And it goes back to my, test, and then prototype, and then roll out. And we're in the test phase. And I think that there are some things we're doing right, some things we need to fix. But the opportunity is just too immense to not take advantage of. And I think all the women out here would agree, it's an underserved market. It's one that, you're not happy about, where you have to go and what you have to do to buy, and somebody needs to do a better job. We hope to be that person.
I find it remarkable to sort of, in hindsight, think you've got half the world, half the population in a business like shoes. Shoes have been around a while.
Yeah.
And there's this huge, huge opportunity that's right before you.
Yeah, people, if you think about it though, the industry was built around guys. For example, you've got Under Armour, and they talk about protect this house, and they show people getting and sweating, and you're saying that's not what the women necessarily want or think to do, but they want the product. So how do you market to them? Mm-hmm. How do you make sure that you have product that fits right? How do you make sure that you have colors that coordinate right, properly? And so coming up with those ideas are things we're working with our vendors on, and we're going to be able, hopefully, to offer in an environment that women feel comfortable with, which is more apparel-driven than footwear-driven. But the footwear will be an important part of it.
It'll be fun to watch how all this plays out.
Yes, it is.
So, as a leader, what role do you think corporate social responsibility plays in corporate America, in corporates?
I think corporations play an important role in the the corporate or in the world environment, and it's probably different than what people outside of business may think. But I think companies need to do the right thing. The most important thing that a company can and needs to do is provide good opportunities and jobs for people. Mm-hmm. We have 35,000 plus associates. We need to make sure that we provide a good opportunity for them and a place where they can work. Then we also need to provide a good environment, making sure that we're socially responsible, making sure that the product is produced well and properly. But the thing that I always tell our people is it goes back to doing the right thing. Mm-hmm. And companies that don't do the right thing usually wind up, it comes back and bites them. And those who do well, they generally get rewarded. Those who go out and try to do something just to do something to make themselves look good, don't necessarily help people because they're really not doing it for the right reason.
Social media makes it pretty easy for that veil to be pierced.
They do, but I'll give you an example. There's a company that says we give away a pair of shoes for every pair that you buy. Then the shoes are in the $40 range. Mm-hmm. The shoes that they sell here cost a little over $2 to make. The shoes that they give away, about $1. So they have a cost of product about $4. They sell it for $40. We're doing a good thing. We're giving away 1 million pair of shoes. They could have given away 5 million pair of shoes. The CEO might not have had a 120-foot yacht, might not have had a G5, might not have had a house in Monte Carlo, in Aspen, and in Santa Barbara. But if you're going to say, I'm good, be good. Give it all away. But don't say we're really, and get people believing that I'm helping, but you've got all this stuff over here, or at least get a hawker and a 90-foot yacht and only have a house and,
Rent the others.
Yeah, rent the others.
Yeah. But keep that out of the news.
Yeah.
What makes a person stand, or actually, before I ask that question, let me just follow up on that. So when I say Bangladesh, and I think about sourcing, and you're broadly in the retail industry, how is that playing out at Foot Locker these days?
Well, we have a very small import program, but we have a very firm guidelines that we hold ourselves and our vendors to in terms of production requirements, and we inspect that on an ongoing basis. We do very little business in Bangladesh, but we do some. The thing that we have to make sure of, and I've been to Bangladesh, we have to make sure, one, that we have the right standards in Bangladesh. And the factories that, when I've been there, and Penny's was a big producer there, we made sure that those factories were there. We had on-site inspectors making sure the factories were good factories and safe factories. The other thing you have to do is make sure the factories follow the rules. The two major incidents were both of those factories should have been closed or were closed, but they were operating against the law. And so the Bangladeshis need to make sure if you close a factory, follow the law. The third thing, and this is probably one of the things that gets lost, is, and you guys don't remember this, but it wasn't that long ago, 10, 15 years ago, we used to hold concerts and things to feed the people in Bangladesh because they were starving to death. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people were dying a month because they couldn't get enough to eat. With those factories, they might not be living quite as well as we do, but they are, beyond subsistence now. And if we overreact and we close those factories, we'll be holding concerts for Bangladesh again. We need to make sure that we provide a good environment in Bangladesh, and we support that, and we have inspectors there, and we watch the environment very well. But we also need to make sure that we don't overreact and pull the jobs out, because that's the easy thing to do. Fine, they're not doing right, we'll pull the factories out, or the work out, and then the people don't have the jobs, and they don't have the opportunity to move up.
Sure. It turns out we have a lot more in common than you might have thought. I was a paper boy.
You were.
And I own the Concert for Bangladesh on vinyl. So there you go.
There you go.
Last question before we go to audience questions. What makes a person who works for you stand out as you evaluate them? What makes someone a real star?
I say all the time, I ask three things of people. Be honest, think, and try your hardest. And people who do those three things and do them well. And it's not just the person who gets the highest results, but the people who get results, but also develop other people. We're in Montreal this week, and talking to one of the managers there, and I asked him, how many managers have you promoted? And he thought about it, and he goes, okay, in this store I've had 3, and then in another store. He had about 9 people that he had promoted. Okay, that says a lot about that person. That person can be a district manager because they know how to develop people. And that's what a district manager's job really is developing store managers. And if you can do it at a store, then you have the capability to do it as a district manager. So being able to get results, but also being able to develop an organization and a team, being able to make sure that they live the values as a company that we have. And those values are important to us, and they drive what we do. But it's not just the bottom line. Mm-hmm. It's a lot more than that. But and the good thing is that we've got some tremendous people in the company, and they get, they enjoy doing what they're doing, and they work hard and do well. But they really believe in the company, and we need to make sure we support them.
Great.
Thank
well,
you.
we've got time for lots of time, I think, for questions. So there's a mic set up in the middle, And if anyone would like to step up to the mic, we're happy to take questions.
Hi.
So I'm actually from Bangladesh, and I thought your response to talking about it was very interesting. And what I wanted to ask you is, what do you think companies should be doing so that we can enforce better standards and production?
How to enforce better standards of production. Those factories that do not meet the guidelines and meet the things, we shouldn't produce them. And we should go to those factories that do. And there are the overwhelming majority of the factories in Bangladesh do provide a good environment for the people. And we need to make sure that those are the ones we support. And the side of that is the factories that we support, we can't allow them to go to another factory. Everybody talks about, well, if we could charge a penny or 2 pennies more, it would change. And, you know, the cost is a factor. But there are cheaper places in Bangladesh to make things. But we're there because it has a good infrastructure. And if you look as production has gone around the world, we had the shirtwaist factory in New York when we used to produce clothes, burned down. 119 women were killed there. Then it went to Japan. Then it went to Korea and China. And now it's been Bangladesh. And the companies developed, but this is the early stage of developing a business capability. And we need to support that or Bangladesh will never get out of it. And so making sure that we pay a fair amount for the apparel and making sure that the people who we deal with are honest and upright are the important things. Thank you.
I want to say thank you, Mr. Hicks, for coming to.
My pleasure. It's great to be back in Texas.
And then second off, I was interested in understanding, was there a moment in your career, you know, you did consulting pretty early on, where you said, I really like retail, I really like apparel, and then you kind of stuck with that as you got throughout the rest of your career?
I really like apparel, and I learned that afterwards because I hadn't done much in apparel. The thing that I learned, I went into consulting because when I got out of the Army, the thing I tell people, thing I knew how to do best in the world was shoot cannons. I went to business school and graduated, and the thing I knew how to do best in the world was shoot cannons. I didn't know a lot about the business world. So I went into consulting to learn about that. But the thing I knew I wanted to do, I wanted to be a line manager. Consulting's great, but you don't have the responsibility. You don't get the chance to get it done. You are dependent on executing through others all the time. And I wanted to have the responsibility. So that was what I wanted. It wasn't retail, although retail I learned provided that in spades and allows me to do a lot of things. But it was that I knew that I wanted to be the person, you know, who was actually doing something.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hicks.
Hi.
My name is Natasha. I was wondering to talk about the real estate developer companies and your partnerships and how it's very important. What kind of criteria do you have for forming a
You mean working with new companies? We have dealt with new companies, but our challenge is because of our size, it's difficult. But what we look for are, you know, new and innovative things. Give you an example. There was a new company that came out that had put some stuff on the bottom of your shoes and you didn't skid on the court. And, you know, we put it out there, we sold it, and did well with it for a couple of years, and then people figured out that they could go like that and do the same thing. But that said, it was a new and exciting idea, and that's what we really look for. That's what new companies need to do, bring something new, either a new product or a new capability. Where you see most new companies coming right now are either service or information related, because they're big companies. They haven't got that one figured out yet. Okay, thanks.
Jared, you mentioned the importance of developing people. How does one go about developing?
That's a good question. You know, the best way to develop people is to care about them. And if you care about the people, you know, you will help develop. And people who don't care about the people, don't care about others, they're not going to be good developers of people. So first is care. Second is listen and understand what their needs are. And then third, find ways to give them those opportunities, either additional responsibility, training, different opportunities. But it all starts with caring about the people. And one of the things that you can do, and I've got, you know, several people here who I work with, spent the day visiting stores with, you know, you should ask them afterwards, do they feel that the company cares about them and the other people? I won't have them stand up in front of me. I'll leave the room if they want to. But that's also what makes a good company. Yes, sir.
So you mentioned that by beginning with Zappos, you guys are basically innovating in terms of customer service, social media, things that are to do with advantage. So in the long term, as technology continues to disrupt brick and mortar traditional businesses, what do you see as a long-term vision that will keep revenue growth steady? For example, Nike may come out with a new shoe every year, every 2 years, or Apple with a new product every year in intervals. What do you see in the long term in a customer service-based business such as store market that will expand even more?
Well, there's two things. One is making sure the stores are relevant. And one of the things we're spending a lot of money on right now is we are designing our stores and updating them. For example, in Champs, we want to really show the apparel and show how it hooks up with the shoes. In their new format, we're taking the shoes off the wall and putting them down the center of the store. So you go into a Champs now, shoes are up on the wall. You go into the new one, there are no shoes on the wall. It's about apparel. It tells a story. So make the environment more relevant. Connect to the technology so that somebody can come in and learn about, you know, how's this shoe work? Is this a shoe for me if I run? Or why is this shoe important? Have an interview with the designer who can talk about the shoe. Allow you services, going into how you pay and what you can do and having it delivered to you. You don't have to come in, or we can have it delivered from the store. So there are a lot of things that we can do, and I think the winner will not be online. Because think about it. How many of you have been to a movie in the last year? Almost everybody. Why? Why do you go to a movie? How many of you want to see Gravity at a movie theater? You know, I mean, that's supposed to be really cool. Why? That's why. It's the experience. And people want to go to stores. You know, you want to go. We also have a product that, because of its nature, it fits differently, it feels different, and you can't get that same experience online. And so we need to take advantage of that and keep the brick and mortar, but hook it up closer with the .com. So I don't really care how you buy, how you get the information, or what you do. All I want you to do is buy a pair of sneakers. Thank you.
Mr. Hicks, your views on corporate social responsibility strike me as interesting. This question is in two parts. First, what kind of philanthropic activities does Foot Locker engage in? And second, what avenues do you see for growth in corporate social responsibility with regards to Foot Locker?
Yeah, I think that the philanthropy is not really the social responsibility element of a company. Companies participate in it, but it's the philanthropy is what a company does to kind of give back. Same thing as an individual. The corporate social responsibility is making sure that we protect the environment, we provide good working conditions, we are good social, so we are socially responsible. That said, our philanthropy is primarily directed at things that help young people. We provide scholarships You know, we give out 20 scholars, actually more than that, because we participate in the Foot Locker, we have champs and the UNCF scholarships. We have an event next week for raising money for that. But we've given out over the last several years over 900 scholarships to young people. We've built playgrounds. We do things that are good for kids. We also are involved in things like breast cancer awareness. You go into our stores, you see a lot of pink stuff. We sell that, and then a portion of the proceeds go to fund breast cancer research. So that philanthropy is good for the community and community of our customers. And so we as a company give back. But the real social responsibility, I think, is how we behave and how we are stewards of our environment, stewards for our associates, stewards for our customers, and for the communities that we live and work in.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Hicks.
Thank you.
Could you describe your leadership style and what skills you rely upon most as a leader?
Well, it's interesting because people ask, what kind of leader are you? And you know, I have a view, and you know, the other people may not share that view. We actually do 360s where your direct reports provide feedback. I believe in delegation. When I got to Foot Locker, we were very much a top-down company. And we still, you know, have direction from the top, but it's direction now rather than telling people what to do. And we've actually spent a fair bit of time in the stores today talking about, why don't you try this? You know, look at this. And the store managers are saying, you really want me to do that? Because I can't from the corporate office tell everybody everything they need to do. But if we tell them what we want to accomplish, then they will, you know, that's what they'll work for. Because I may tell them what to do, but it may not accomplish what we want. And they say, hey, I'm okay. I did everything you want. You know what? It didn't work so well for you because I didn't accomplish what you wanted. So it's really focusing on accomplishments rather than actions. And I think that's something that we've pushed. And, you know, the gentleman in the front row, we can ask and say, have we moved that direction? I think we have. Are we where we need to be as a company? No, that's the good thing about business is you never get all the way to the right answer. You can always improve.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, Mr. Hicks.
Hi.
I was just wondering if you could give more in depth about the transition from consulting to retail and whether it's easy and how you learn how you use what you learn in consulting in the retail.
Well, I think it definitely depends on the person because I fortunately had experience in working and getting things done before I went in from my military experience into consulting. Some people make that transition and do an excellent job of it. And I know a lot of people have. Others have difficulty. And it depends on what you feel comfortable with. One of the things I say about a leader has to be willing to get yelled at for something they could have done well. Because you could do it fine, but the person who you may have assigned that responsibility didn't. And now you're held accountable for it, but you didn't do it. But the thing is, you can't do everything that your people need to do, so you have to trust and count on them. And so sometimes they'll screw up, and you have to understand how you handle that. But I think the transition is an interesting one. Most people who do it go to an area that they were working in or familiar with. I didn't. And that helps the transition, but it's more what you as a person feel comfortable doing. You're welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hicks.
Hi.
I was wondering if you could elaborate a little bit on what the transition was like from the United States military to the business world, and how you took what you learned in the military and translated it into business.
Well, the thing that's interesting, and I didn't answer fully the question about consulting, what I learned in consulting was how to solve problems. What I learned in the military was how to lead people. And in both institutions that I went to prepare for that, I learned how to think. So, you know, one of the things about business school, the skills that you learn in business school, the particular skills, are not that important. don't, Eric, don't get too upset.
So you weren't talking about accounting, so you're
No, no,
all
no,
right.
accounting
You're all
is,
right.
because accounting actually is different. Accounting, law, medicine, you really learn something that's important, and you have to do it a certain way, or it's not so good, particularly medicine. But business, there's no one right way to do things. And so the opportunity is to understand how to accomplish what you want to accomplish. And so the thing about the military, the biggest problem people from the military have coming into the business world is they all think that we're the same. And we, to some degree, help perpetuate that stereotype because we call people sir, and we, hold doors open, things like that. But that's just, simple courtesies. The thing that they don't realize is in the military, they go, all you have to do is tell an order and the people do it, right? Think about this. If you're on a mission and your lieutenant or captain tells you, I want you to go to that over the hill and see if the bad guys are there, and you might not come back. And if you say no, they'll send you back to the States and you'll be home. Which is the easier decision for the person? Think about this. So I can go over the hill, I can get killed, or I can go back home and be back in the street. The reason they go over the hill is because they believe in their leader. They believe in what they're doing. And that's one of the things you learn in the military is that people need to believe in you, and because it's easier in the civilian world because I'll fire you. People are worried about that. In the military, you can't fire anybody. I mean, you can, give them an Article 15, take away a little money, but you can't fire the person. And so the military teaches you how to lead, and the consulting world teaches you how to solve problems. And that's one of the things I think that helped me is I had the opportunity to learn both of those. You're welcome.
Hi, I was wondering what the best piece of advice you ever received.
I was one of the vice chairmen at May Company once. The chairman of May Company was a real tough guy, very tough guy, best person to learn from. But people were always trying to please him because they were afraid of him. And he had 27 years of consecutive quarterly profit increases, not 27 quarters, but 27 years, straight line up. And at one point, somebody did something, and Dave looked at the person and said, why'd you do that? And the person said, well, I thought that's what you wanted. And he looked back and said, do you think I'm stupid too? And the vice chairman told me, he says, it's better to do what you think's right and have somebody correct you than do what you think somebody else wants and have it be wrong. So the piece of advice was, do what you think's right and believe in yourself. You're welcome. Hi.
How do you see Foot Locker expanding internationally in the next 10 years?
Well, right now, we just bought 200 stores in Europe, and then we need to update the bio because we said 3,300. We got 3,500 stores now. And I see continued expansion in Europe. And beyond that, we are still looking. We have, the expression is we have open to listen. So we're open to listen, but we don't have any definite plans. But we think international is a significant opportunity for us.
Could you comment on challenges of integrating companies into the Foot Locker family, and in particular, integrating international companies and the cultures that may be different?
The international, I can't comment on it yet. We just bought them in July, so we haven't screwed that up yet. And it's going very well. But the challenge is getting the cultures to mix. And, there are systems things and stuff like that people are worried about. You can overcome that. That's time and money. It's the cultures to mix and gel and what you take from the new company and what the new company takes from you. And that's probably the biggest challenge.
So what are some of the tactical things or best practices that you've
Well,
observed in trying to do that?
We are, for example, what we're doing in Germany is we have had a number of workshops where we brought their leadership, our leadership, and had a third party go through the issues and help address them, so that it's not, I told you to do this, no, I'm not going to do it. It's, let's talk about the issues. It's making sure that our company recognizes that the other company has value, and not to change and Foot Lockerize them. We want them to be different. That's why we bought them. We want to make them better, and they realize that. And then it's helping the other company recognize that we actually do bring some value. There are some things that we do well, and it'll help them. And so getting people to understand that. And the other is taking time. Most people want to do it as fast and as quick as possible. That's usually a problem. And so we're going about this a little more methodical, and fortunately it's a good company, so it's not one that's going under and you have to try to save it, but it's a good company, and we're getting the benefit of time and making adjustments rather than just, okay, we fired all these people, oops, yeah, I wish I would have kept them, because you can't get them back.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Hi, thanks for coming out today. My name is David Nielsen. I was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your management style, if it's more strict and regimented, or if it's more laid back, casual, like you might wear sneakers.
Well, we wear sneakers every day, but I'm not a jeans guy. I just went, when I went to school, we couldn't wear jeans. I never grew up with that. So, but I would say, you guys have seen me talk here. I would say we're a casual company. It's the way the business casual, and we're moving to more. When I came, had the people start wearing sneakers. Took a while. I can't understand why. If I had the choice between sneakers and those, and that's the way the world's going, by the way. Look around here, So we are, I won't say we're laid back, but I would say we don't take ourselves too seriously, but we recognize we're doing serious stuff. And so we try to have fun, and we try to do things that make it a good environment, but recognizing we do have to get a result.
Okay, and a quick follow-up question of how many pairs of shoes do you purchase?
That's a good question. I probably, in sneakers, now remember, I've only been there 4 years. I probably have something on the 80 range. But we've got guys, what, today, how many?
Yeah, one of my guys has over 900. Which one's your favorite?
Actually, I like any of the ones that are Lunar Glide. I'm wearing the Lunar Fly, and they're unbelievably comfortable, nice cushioning, but enough to support me. I need a little more support than you probably do, and it gives me good support. So I like the Lunars. Thanks. Don't tell Under Armour that.
Hi, my name is Buster, and I have a question about shoes you're wearing, also the future. So you're wearing the Flyknit right now. They're really big on environmental sustainability. I was wondering, what's the future of shoes, and how do you communicate things such as environmental sustainability to the customer itself?
I think shoes are one of the most people-intensive products that are in the consumer goods area, and they will become more manufactured. These were not done like normal shoes. This is one thread that's woven together and makes this shoe, and it's done by a machine. And then the upper and the sole are fused together. So there will be changes in technology that will improve the shoes. And the biggest thing we have to do is communicate it. I think people don't fully understand the benefits of these shoes, but because it hasn't been communicated as well as it should. Also, not the cheapest shoes in the world. We've got to get the price down to a more reasonable price. And we're working hard to do that with Nike. But biggest thing is just communicating. You did a very nice job for this group here, so they'll all go out and buy some fly nets. We also have the free flies that are there, and you put them on, and they are really, really comfortable. Okay, thanks.
All right, well, this looks perfect because we've got time for one more question.
Okay. So my question to you is, okay, so to become CEO of any company, let alone such a large one like Foot Locker, you have to bring something to the table that none of the other candidates have. So what do you think you have that allowed you to become CEO as opposed to anyone else that might have been up in the position?
I don't know. Because I didn't make the decision to hire me. The board did. I think the thing that I brought, and it's not one thing, I think the things that I brought is I had a lot of shoe experience. At Payless, I made more shoes than anybody else in the world, or sold more shoes than anybody else in the world. Sold 320 million pair of shoes a year. So I knew something about shoes. I knew athletic because I had experience with that business at Penny's and at May Company. I understood retail and different kinds of retail. I knew the direct-to-customer business, or what the .com business, because of home shopping, and we also had a $2.5 billion direct-to-customer business at Penny's. So I knew a lot of different pieces that some person may know one or two of those. And one of the things, you know, that you should look at in your career is at points in time, work in other areas, feel uncomfortable. If you like accounting, that's cool, but get into finance or get into marketing or get into operations. Get into other areas, because that's a way that you can differentiate yourself and help yourself grow. So.
Well, that's great advice, and it's been absolutely delightful speaking with you, having you share your experiences. I'm going to turn it over to Charlie, who's going to wrap things up.
Thank you very much, Dean Hurst and Mr. Hicks. Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and speak with our students.
My pleasure.
I know that we will be able to take the lessons that we have learned from you and apply them into our own lives. As a token of our appreciation, the Undergraduate Business Council would like to present Mr. Hicks with this personalized Stetson cowboy hat in recognition of your participation in the VIP Distinguished Speaker Series.